sheet, I was looking on the website last night, of all the capital projects.
I've been working on it. I'm yesterday. So, that's trying to get it. See what you have to take us. That's the most. After this presentation, I want to get
I have my notes, but I'm not sure I'm going to get all the details, you know. I feel like I should have been more organized.
Aren't you wonderful?
I'm good, thank you, Linnell. That's great.
How do you keep this thing from blanking out?
You can go to the settings and you can change the images. And then there's like a sleep time. I've done it before when I used my other one.
Control center?
Good morning. Hey, Peter.
Do you need this one?
Oh, yeah.
How do you keep your from blinking out, timing out?
On the snowblower this winter?
Settings.
Settings and snow accessible. Font size. Yeah, well, see if it's not get allowed. I'm like, oh, that'd be great. You know, if you want for my dad, and I'm like, or he walks now, and I know this. Did you look at accessibility? I know that's all the sizes of fonts, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, let's go down to the bottom. I think there was something here. Accessibility shortcut. Yeah, all right.
It's there somewhere.
Hey, Pete, I think we can call the meeting to order.
Morning. Please.
I think the only one we're missing is Matt. Is there somebody? We haven't.
Let's go back and since Matt is here.
Yeah, I know. That must be it. So the first item on the agenda is to call a meeting to order, which I just did. I don't think we have the minutes for November 18th. Do we? I didn't print them if they do. Aha. Okay. We can do that tomorrow, perhaps. So then the next item is an overview of the Sewer Enterprise Fund and the Solid Waste Enterprise Fund capital recommendations. Requests. Kara, are you reading the?
What I've given you is an Excel spreadsheet with some updated positioning of projects. The projects are all the same. There are two additions that have generated in the very recently. The first, under the 2017 request column, is the yellow highlighted 750,000. That's for the First Way sewer construction. It had originally been included in the general fund portion and is more appropriately in the enterprise fund.
So that'll reduce that one then. It'll reduce the first wave. It was
First
two,
wave will
I think it was $2,990,000. I mean, it was like a sale. Okay,
Yeah.
not $3 million, but $2,990,000. Okay.
So, First Wave will be significantly less. The number that Mike had generated for that was for the whole length of road, and it's actually only a little over half that we're doing. So that First Wave number can be reduced, plus the sewer portion has been, will be removed.
So even the general fund one is going to be.
Yes. So this First Wave sewer construction is a addition. Just above that, where you see the Baxter Road sewer design,
Yeah.
the orange is where the project used to be, and it's been pushed out to 19. The erosion control structure out there is now permitted, and this was prepared, it wasn't. So it's going to be in place for the next budget year. then moving down to the Somerset, Nantucket, Warren's Landing sewers for $62 million. That had been in 18. The selectmen have asked us to move it up into 17, so you'll see that that's under the 2007 request. I just wanted to note that the $62 million and the $23 million below for Monomoy and the unconnected town sewer will not have a impact to the enterprise fund probably for 2 years. So fiscal 19, I think, is when we will first see any impact from that. But Brian and I will work on that. It's funded through SRF, and they actually pay the bills, and then we enter into an agreement with them to pay that money back over a period of 20 years.
Pete was going to ask what SRF is.
State revolving loan fund.
Is that the 0%?
Yes, yes. And that's why both of these projects are being proposed now. The 0% only continues until fiscal 19, and we wanted to get as much in there as we could.
Is there a plan B for when that goes away, or if it goes away?
We will have to accommodate the increased loan.
And you have enough time to, if
It's
it
going to
goes
be-
through the political process, and
It's
it's all
going to be a
approved?
very, very tight schedule.
Thanks, Ken.
We actually are proposing in the operational budget, or admin is proposing, to create a sewer management position and actually take sewer from the DPW and make it a standalone department. So we are hiring additional personnel for managing these projects and all the other sewer work.
Can I ask a few more questions, which are about the process?
Sure. Just so we understand.
Yeah. How many connections are there in
Connecticut
for example, Nantucket, Warren's
Warren's
Landing?
Landing is about 150.
What about Monomoy and Main Sewer?
I would have to get you those. The unconnected is a number of different locations.
Is
off
it
the top of
more or
my
less than?
head. Yeah, just slightly less.
So we'll go with 400.
And Somerset, which is with Connecticut and Warren's Landing, is about another 100 some odd.
So 550.
Okay, the light bulb is lighting for me. In the sewer work group report, they wanted a public outreach program to start no later than August 1st. It's December, whatever. I haven't seen or heard anything about this.
Yeah, we're actually entering into a contract with Woodard & Curran right now, and there is a newsletter that's already in production. Go out to every deliverable household so that we can introduce the topic. And we know we're behind the 8 ball, but we have quite a bit of education to do between now and town meeting.
Well, it makes sense to me when I see the small numbers that there's no voter power there. It's going to block it in any way, so it's going to happen. But I think the folks that live in these areas need to know how big an expense it is. I mean, where I live, full disclosure, I'm involved in Fisher's Landing. People at Fisher's Landing are going to be spending just on the betterment tax $70,000 to $90,000
Each?
each.
I think that's for 100%, but it's not 100%.
I was looking at the thing that Brian put together that showed the 60-40 break. If I've got the wrong information, that's good news.
Yes, you know, I
Yeah.
believe, and again, I'm just going off the top of my head, the 50-50 break, which is what the sewer planning work was wanting, it was on the order of, I want to say 50-some odd thousand per household,
But
and that
the
is
calculator that
comparable.
Brian put together, I think you're aware of what I'm talking
Yep,
about.
yep.
It gives an address, and it tells you by address what the betterment tax would be.
Oh, okay, all right, we just, the sewer planning work group didn't have addresses, we had just the.
Well, I'm telling you, it's between $70,000 and $90,000 for those homes in Fisher's Landing. Then you add the access fee and the sewer privilege fee, which is what, $8,000 to $9,000?
6.
6 plus the access fee. So
It's a $2,000 application
okay, so it's 8,000 bucks. So we're up to almost six figures. Then you gotta hire someone to dig the hole. What do you think that's gonna cost?
It most likely under 2,000.
Maybe two.
Most of the houses are within 50 feet of the street.
Okay. How many companies out here dig those kind of holes?
Just I would say 10.
Yeah, okay. That would be helpful for the homeowners.
A lot of your questions that you're saying is going to be wrapped into the public outreach. We've obviously had a lot to do since August 1st. And
I
so
grant
the
you
work
that.
group doesn't have to deal with a special town meeting, and they don't have to deal with the budget, and they don't have to deal with capital plan and day-to-day town operations. So it has been a little slow to get off the ground, as Kara said, but we're well aware that it needs to get out there and done.
Yeah.
That 70 to 90,000 sounds very high to me, but I don't have Brian's calculator thing.
But I have it, I might have it, it'll take me a while to find it, but.
Well, he also has updated it. I don't know what date it is that you're looking at,
Okay.
but he gave an update to the board. I don't remember when, early November, late October, something like that. So I just don't recall.
Okay. I think what folks are going to want to know is once the line comes down the road, how long do you have to connect?
Right, yeah. These are all very good questions, and maybe we'll get them from you to work into our
You break it down to an individual, it's a big deal, yeah.
newsletter.
And then I'm concerned about the 0% financing. There's no way we're going to miss on that, is there?
No,
It's already approved.
it's already good.
If it's approved, we just have to get a shovel in the ground by date certain.
Yeah, there's milestones we have to meet for that.
And we're going to make those milestones.
We are.
We're
Well,
planning to.
Every attempt
God
to do that.
willing.
Yeah.
So, but to add into that, so that's part of the idea of going to town meeting twice. So by pushing Connecticut up to this year, you give the opportunity to go to town meeting twice. Am I correct in saying that?
I don't know what we need to do.
No, for these two projects, we wrapped design and construction into one.
Right.
I think
No,
you're
no.
talking about an override, the townwide ballot on the override, is that what you're talking about?
I'm saying if it failed one year at town meeting, we could bring it before town meeting
We
again.
can go back, but we have to reapply.
We'd have to reapply.
Yeah, every year you have to apply.
But I think given the small number of voters that you're impacting, it's going to go through. So that shouldn't be a problem, I don't think. But what do I know?
But it's it's still going to be hard for people who are on the other side, who aren't necessarily voters, who are going to have to be paying for it in some capacities. It's still a lot of
Have to pay
money.
the 40%.
Well, I'll use our area as an example. Probably 7 out of the 10 homes there are second homes. You're going to use them 3 months a year. And taxes out here from where they come from are dropping the bucket. Ridiculous. So that's not going to work. When I see the numbers, I can see why there's been no outreach until now.
Well, the numbers are not why there's been no outreach. The problem is that there hasn't been
No, I'm just saying if you had
the ability to go.
10,000 households, then you'd be looking at a huge doubling of tax expenditure. That would create a hue and cry.
Like just the simple fact that there'd be a huge number of people that would be affecting would
I see.
drive that impact. But it's not intentional.
No.
So the process is town meeting in April, and then there's a townwide override vote.
The next week? Does it usually happen next week?
That's the plan, yeah.
And just the last question about the construction costs are based on 2013 numbers?
These were done, these are planning level numbers, so that they were conservatively done to begin with. And they were
That
done
means what, a
in,
year or over?
I believe it was, I believe it was 13.
So, given the history that we have in front of us in terms of how things increase, by the time we put the shovel in the ground, we're looking at plus 20, plus 30.
Well, that's something that we'll have to get the consultants on.
And how will that impact the betterment tax?
Well, it's intended to be a 40-60 split, so the
So it's whatever the construction is? Ah. Okay. I think I'm done for now.
Okay, well,
All good questions.
yeah, because I think they'll all come up. We need to be prepared for them. I guess my question has to do with, originally, I think that Nantucket was 45 million, and it's 62 now because of Somerset and Warrenton Ending?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question.
Um,
Any other questions on
But
that's the biggest item, we'll see.
my question was on the decrease, Carla,
Next one?
in
Monomoy?
Monomoy. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead too
No,
quickly.
I think you're probably on target now.
It originally
I was
was
gonna
at
ask that
like
as well.
33.
6.
33
Down
million
11
six.
million. Any particular reason why it went down 11 million?
I'll check that, but that's what I had in my spreadsheet, but I'll find out.
Generally, how much difference?
It's big. It's a big number.
Is that a typo?
Probably not, 'cause the whole number's different, it's not just 23.6,
Yeah,
Yeah, it was 33.6, and now it's
23.4, 26.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure we were at. I don't know.
Hmm?
It was 95 million.
For the
Yeah,
total.
total for the two. Right, it's
Yeah.
for the
Right.
33, so I think that may not include the unconnected parts, because those are about 10.1 million.
Or does it not include the design?
No, it doesn't include the unconnected at 10.1.
So what's his real number?
I think it's back to 33.6.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the real number should be 33 because of this.
33.6. I will correct that. Moving down 17, the sconset evaluation stays the same. Beneath that is the membrane filtration system, which had been out in fiscal 19. We, just in the last month or so, have received communication from GE, who's the vendor that made the membranes, that they expect us to take delivery in fiscal 17. It had been an agreement that had been made 10 years ago, and 10 years would have put it in 19, which is why I had it there. And we are going to have town council review that and determine whether their decision about it having to be taken delivery of in 17 is accurate or not. But I need to have the ability to purchase them. If I don't purchase them through this agreement, they are in the $5 to $8 million range. So it's a significant amount of money that would be cost if we couldn't accommodate this. So this is kind of an insurance policy. I don't believe we will need it, but if we do, it's there.
Carol, when do you think you might know that?
It's going to depend on when town council can. I've actually got to get the memo to you.
Carol, the next item is town water main to plant and housing to include fire protection.
Yeah, we pushed that out mainly to try to accommodate the numbers that were generated from the rate evaluation that I did. That showed we did have some capacity for capital projects, but that was one in terms of priority that we pushed out.
It was $1 million, and so now it's $1,250,000.
The 250 in 18 is design,
Okay.
and then the million is construction. And in discussions with Bob Gardner, it most likely will be less than that. But again, these are placeholders.
Should he be paying for it?
I think so, but he doesn't.
So
No,
what's the
it's-
purpose though, Karen?
Right now, the wastewater treatment plant is fed by a well.
Yep.
Doesn't have municipal water. And what we find is that the water quality that goes to the shore is inconsistent at best. And running some highly technical processes that needs a consistent water quality source. So we do have treatments that we do to the
To the water.
distilling and to the water. And we have actually had to go to buying water for certain processes because we can't consistently deliver the quality of water that we need from the well source. So the connection of water will help us reduce the cost of purchasing the distilled water.
So is it something like where your well, this is kind of interesting, where your well is located, it has different sediments
Well,
or?
it's right in the middle of the pine trees,
Right.
just before the plant in the woods, and it's very acidic. The pH is
Okay.
around 5.49.
All right, there we go.
And then as soon as we distilled it, we were getting down into the threes.
I got it. Cool.
So it was eating up a lot of the equipment plus.
Question answered. That's very acidic.
Well, it's nice to hear that there may be some just cost justification.
Plus our well also feeds our employee housing. It doesn't just feed the plant, it feeds the housing. And we had it fail last year. Everyone was without water for a while. So it's been in the ground 34 years.
Makes sense. Just another question on that. How much are you using? Can't imagine you're using a huge amount of water at the facility because a lot of water's coming in. So you're just, you don't anticipate a huge cost of pumping all this water from one site to the other.
No. It's a lot of just for the domestic, for our laundries, our sinks, the lab, when they do the still, and then for the housing. The plant was built without any sprinkler systems or fire protection. If for some reason we have to put that in, at least the water will be there. But we don't anticipate having to add sprinkler systems at the time. But it's just a matter of getting water to the facility so we can just provide services without having to buy a pallet of water every few months.
Any other questions on that one? Next,
Moving on to the next yellow block, C Street pump station renovation. The engineers are estimating that a little bit higher, so it was 2.3, I believe, and now it's up to 3 million.
yeah, I had that at 3 before we did.
There's one up above that just got brought to light the other day. There's a line item above that says upgrade wastewater laboratory for compliance and certification. We just got our draft discharge monitoring report 2 days ago. And the state is going to require us to do all of our testing in a state certified lab. That means everything that we pretty much do will have to be sent off. We're working right now with the state to get our lab certified, so we won't have to ship everything off. So that 250 is kind of a placeholder to take and see what it's going to take to get certified. And town water will be another addition to that we'll have to add for that.
I bet you it's going to be a lot more than 250.
I'm hoping not, because the lab
get
we have now is
certified?
pretty
Or what the
pretty
state would charge?
sophisticated. I'm thinking we might have to buy some equipment and maybe a technician that holds a PhD or something like that might have to be.
Those are
to hold
expensive.
up. So we have a guy that has a degree
We
already.
have
Oh,
a
so-
lab.
Yeah.
And-
Right, I know.
And it's been kept really well, and the equipment that we have is in good repair. So this is more additional
Okay.
than starting from scratch, because yes, you're right, for a starting from scratch lab, that's not proposed.
Yeah.
So will we know whether to put this in for annual town meeting into 2017?
Well, we have it up to 18 just because DEP is going to give us a little bit of a leeway. So
The permit has been advertised just recently, and once the 30-day comment period expires, they can issue it, and as part of the permit, they can give us date milestones to meet that this will accommodate.
and it will also help with a lot of other testing on the island with water quality, the Marine Department, and water companies. So it's a little bit of a hurdle, but we'll get there.
Is that lab located at the treatment facility?
Yes.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Where does the water company send their testing now?
Water company sends theirs to.
Oh, the water company.
We send most of our stuff off island as well right now. now they want everything off, so,
Until we're certified.
until we're certified. We have a certified technician already, so. But yeah, anytime anyone wants to come down and see the lab.
Is there,
we'll show you.
just another, this is off topic, but I think there might be some, I know the UMass Field Station is rebuilding their lab at the moment, with the water company, and, there might be some synergies for lab work.
Sarah was gonna help us with our lab certification, but now she's leaving.
Yeah,
So I'm working with Caitlin Shaw, a marine biologist.
yep,
And I'm working with one of the science teachers at the school to see how we can try to get everyone to work together.
yeah, just for,
Maybe save some, maybe we won't have to have an on-staff PhD. We can use someone at the school or something like that,
Yeah.
just to cover it.
great.
Okay.
The next one is the airport pump station upgrade. Again, based on the available funds for capital, we've moved it out into 18. The flows that are going to be going to that are kind of up in the air at the moment based on seeing what the Richmond development is going to be proposing and how those flows are going to go.
I think those flows will go out through this one? Do they plug it
Yeah,
into the,
there's a
this is the one they plug into
possibility
the hotel, right? The inn?
It's the one
Yes,
that's in the front yard
yes,
hotel.
yes. So, we moved that out to 18 to give us a little bit of time to find out what's going on over there. The manhole catch basin inspection, we've also moved out, again, for budgetary reasons. The generator.
Could we go back to the airport one? I had it at 500,000. Now it's $1 million.
That might be because of the Richmond thing.
Pardon me?
That might be because of the Richmond situation. Is that?
Was $1 million originally, yeah. We had left it at $1 million initially because of the whole Richmond scenario. We weren't sure where it was gonna play out. We're kind of thinking now it's gonna go the other way, but, I mean, the $1 million as a placeholder may be a better idea, but we went down just budgetary stuff, just to move along. Plus, we're starting to get more hard numbers, and luckily for equipment that we didn't have before, so.
Yeah, someone said we ought to call that the airport road pump station as opposed to the airport pump station.
Yeah, it's
Change that
It's
title.
actually, we call it the airport pump station in all of our records.
Right. But
It's
someone-
actually considered Miller's Way, is what its actual address is.
We
Well-
just be clear that it's nothing to do with
The
the
airport.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, nothing to do with the airport.
Okay?
And then we've also moved out the manhole catch basin. We've got a better number for the generator for Pine Valley, and that's $80,000. And I didn't highlight it, but we have a better number on the Monomoy, the one that's in 18, just below that, at 50,000.
And the reason those went up is because of the new Tier 4 regulations.
That's what I have.
So we had to take into a Tier 4 generator now, which is ultra quiet, ultra efficient on the emissions, so the prices have just gone. So that's the reason for the jump on those.
And then the other two in 17, the sludge dump
Did you,
truck
someone have a question?
and the.
I got I thought the generator was, I thought it came in, I thought it already was like 80 and some change. And I thought it was, the generator itself was 65, but there was some additions, components and stuff that you were adding to
The
it.
transfer switch and stuff like that brings it up to $80,010 or something. It was just over. That's why the 80,000 is. Should be suffice, because I just took the number I got from
Yeah.
probably the top manufacturer in the country. We can get a different generator, but I went with the high number we went with multi-equipment, just for the numbers.
So does this cover all the associated costs with the generator?
The way the stations are all set now, we can take that generator, grab it, and plug it right in, yes. The way they're set up currently now. All of our stations have transfer switches on them already. This is just to replace a generator that's fallen apart. I don't know if you saw it in the pictures or whatever like that, but the generator's almost fallen off the trailer, so.
Well, I thought you said that the cost had gone up.
It had originally I was looking for 60, our original assessment, but then when we finally got the hard numbers, it went to 80,000.
Okay.
Before we had a generator replacement in 2018 for 54.7. Is that the Monomoy one? Is that you?
That is the Monomoy one, yes.
Okay, so that's. Got it. Okay, so that didn't change places. Okay. All right. Pardon me? So do you know what your total is for sewer enterprise for 2017 now? I mean, it's all, we got things going, moving back and forth, but I wonder what the total wound up to be.
91.9.
I think
Maybe 10 million.
maybe 10 million.
Maybe
more.
it's gonna be, it'll go back, I don't know. It was 103.5, so, so we can add them up later, but I just, okay. Any other questions about,
I just, sorry.
you're just starting, huh?
No, I got two more.
Okay.
The, how likely is the 2% financing to the individual who's getting new sewers? How likely is that number to stay? Is it 2% now or 5%?
It's the up to the
What is that?
the financing
The
for the
financing for
homeowner.
the individual homeowner, if you're gonna pay it out over 20 or 30 years, the betterment tax financing, is that 2%? And what is that?
It's 2. I believe it's 2 to 5%, and that's set by the selectmen.
Yes, it can be.
It can be up to 5%, okay? And the fact is, what everybody has to remember is that not, the 0% is not on the design cost.
I
So
understand.
there is going to be a market rate
That needs to be-
component that is going to have, when the betterments are done, the interest, that the cost is gonna have to be able to cover all of it. So, I mean, I don't know what the selectmen will ultimately decide for the
So
interest on
it's
the
2 to
assessment.
5%. Is 5 the max?
Statutorily, it's 5%. There's a statute that you can accept that will allow the selectmen to set it at no more than 2% above what the borrowing costs are.
So that
Is it 20 years or 30 years?
Well, that's, we had a discussion, I think it was an October selectmen's meeting about that, and there's some desire to go to 30 years, but going to 30 years will create a hole in the funding mechanism because these 0% loans are only can go out for 20 years. So if you amortize a 20-year loan over 30 years, there's a 20-year gap that you're collecting on the back end that has to be financed somehow. And I'm still working through exactly what that mechanism may look like. But there will be filed the option to go to 30 years, correct? Or we're waiting for the legislation.
We have the legislation.
But
There is-
it doesn't sound like that's a road to go. 30 years.
Well, you can always refi.
Well, I mean, it depends on how we solve what that gap is, whether or not 30 years makes sense. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm in the process of trying to decide exactly
You're
how to
talking
manage.
big numbers for some folks, if the calculator I'm looking at is correct. So, 30 years is much more palatable than 20.
I think the selectmen are very sympathetic to that, and that's why we were looking at the 30-year. We'll have to figure out this little problem and find something out. But I think, don't you think the selectmen are?
Yeah, no, we're very
aware of it?
concerned about it. We first thought that the 30-year, the 30-year was going to flow through, and that was going to be great. And so we moved forward on that, and then Brian made us aware that there was this gap, and so I think we have an interest in trying to make that work. It's just a question of how we do that. There's some complex numbers there that I'm not qualified to really rattle off the top of my head.
Silent. Seniors. What are you gonna do for seniors?
There's no ability in the statutes to make differentiation between the individual property owner and the property. It's per property, it's not by the characteristics of the owner. So the value to the property is the same across the board.
Where I was going with that, is there any way that you could attach a lien to a property so that when the property is sold or disposed of down the road?
Well,
That
the
good.
one thing to realize too is that with the betterment, when it's apportioned, it's automatic. Property A is automatic. If there's an automatic lien, when you apportion it over 20 years, the town attaches 20%
seniors that are on, and there won't be a lot of them, but there may be a few that are on a fixed income, and all of a sudden their taxes, if I'm reading this correctly, that may be wrong, but if their taxes go from, say, $4,000 a year to almost $8,000 a year, they can't come up with that. What do they do, not pay it? And then,
This is something that we'll have to take up with the assessor. I don't know what the,
Are you talking property tax or betterment?
I'm talking betterment,
Okay.
but when you add the two together,
Right.
you're talking a real number for a senior on fixed income. And there may not be a lot of them out there, but there's gonna be a few.
There's a potential, I have to explore it more, but under the betterment statute, there is what's known as a senior deferral, and I have to look at the mechanism to whether on how we would be able to implement it if there was, if that was a road that everybody wanted to go down. But there is a mechanism in the betterment statute
Could
for
maybe-
the rules to.
Could I, since we don't have all the answers right here, but I'd like to suggest that we've got the basis for a great Q&A, and with Richard's volunteering to help with that. Didn't you just volunteer to help?
That's it, yeah.
But I think there's a lot of these things that, when you get it down to the individual, go from the macro to the micro, it gets pretty serious stuff. And I think maybe that all these are going to be people going to be asking these questions. We might as well have it out there in front of them before they ask.
Yeah, I would encourage that. I think the more people understand, I think everyone understands the need, and I don't think that's an issue. I think everyone wants to embrace the 21st century and move to the next step. It's just dealing with the,
Well, yeah. So that's one thought. The other thought is also: is anybody here? Is anybody else on septic tank like I am? I'm in the 40% side. It scares me with the new health department regulations that says, I think I got a letter that I had to do something in 2017. And if I have to do something, that means an artificial intelligence one or an AI. It's not artificial intelligence, but it's something like that.
Sounds nice, I like that.
Do you
That's
like
good.
artificial
Yeah.
intelligence? So I have to put my own. Sewer plant on my property, and that's not going to be cheap. And I'm wondering, how's the town going to help me do that? Like they're helping him.
last question. And you may not have the answer, but is the betterment tax deductible on your federal income tax?
I'm not a tax advisor, so I
I
wouldn't be
think
able
we've
to
heard that
advise
it
you.
is,
No good.
but I'm not a tax advisor either.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to give you advice or tell you that.
Okay.
I can try to find that.
I think that'll be a question that'll allow.
Well,
But
look,
I'd be happy to sit down with anybody and go through these.
When I get the draft newsletter, maybe if I could send it to you.
When do you think that's gonna come out?
I would expect it would be within the next week or so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe.
Yeah.
We're,
That's right, the contract.
a lot of people have to read the draft newsletter.
Yeah.
And people who have to read the draft newsletter are working on 18 other projects. So, I'm gonna say by the end of the year,
That's fine.
hopefully.
That's fine.
And we'd be happy to have any of you take a look at it. That would be great. The more people who look at it, the better. But, and this won't be the last item. We have a kind of a plan, sort of mapped out of it with the consultant to get a newsletter out, to start meeting with community groups, the specific, neighborhood associations and the wider groups like the Civic League and the Town Association and those groups. But it is going to take a lot of time.
It doesn't appear that you have to ask your tax advisor because it's an improvement to your property, which is not generally tax deductible, but it would increase the basis of your house when you sold it.
So if you sell your house,
Unless we can.
and you better do it soon. Anyway, my suggestion would be to put your questions down in writing
Yeah,
and get
I'll
them
do
to
that.
Okay, we're moving from sewer to solid waste. What a combo. Are there any, there were like 4 items that we had in front of us. Is anything, I think one thing has changed, but I'll let you talk.
Waste Options is giving us their estimates for improvements to the Merck building, where all the recycling sorting is. There is a broken overhead door and the possibility of a new conveyor to bring the waste up to the sorting area inside. Preliminarily, they're estimating $115,000. So that repair replacements for $30,000 may go to $115,000. But the mining is the same.
So you had,
And then last year, we got $1 million to build the new line cell for
3C or something?
3C. And we found in discussions with them that they had not applied prevailing wages to those numbers. So most likely those numbers will have to increase.
There was a back and forth between us and them about whether they did apply, and whether it was a public procurement project or not. And to make a long story short, a year-long story short, the prevailing wage does apply, and there are a number of contracts that we're going to have that are going to require prevailing wage. We're trying to work something out, or maybe we do some of that and contract it on with our existing contracts, but we had to rework the numbers, but it did look like that money was going to increase.
so that's 2017?
Yes.
That's not, it wasn't even there before, I don't think.
It
No,
was in,
it was voted last year.
Oh,
yeah, I thought we had sort of a placeholder in for 17, but maybe we didn't. It would be another $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. We're waiting.
okay, so just to go back, repairs replacement was 30 in 2017, so you're saying that's 115?
Yes.
And then the Murph Baylor conveyor replacement, how much was, I had that X'd out, but it looks
They
like,
want to move that up from 2020, but it's not the full 285. There's some more repairs. That also has to be.
I'm sorry, are you moving the 285 from 2020 to 2017? Or some other number?
18, I believe.
Okay. Okay, then landfill mining is 700,000,
That remains the same.
and capping of cells 1A, B, and C
Still in 18,
at 8.2 million
yes.
for next year, for 2018. Or wait a minute, that looks like I was moved to 2020, or at least the last meeting.
I will confirm that for you. It's all up to DEP so far. They
Yeah.
have not required us to cap those. And I believe our consultant felt like the permit that we were getting for cell 3A may kind of flag DEP to look at the rest of the site, and there might be a requirement for dealing with capping of the portions that are uncapped if we don't continue mining. So there's a couple of balls in the air there.
Question. How much longer do you anticipate us continuing mining for? Looks like it tears off in 2019 on this current
There's
schedule.
1 more years left of the second 5-year agreement. There was originally 22 acres, and it was supposed to be brought down to, I think, 6 acres.
So we've reduced the amount of material we have
Yes.
at the dump significantly.
It's to create areas for
Yeah.
since the island isn't creating any more land, we need to create more space for disposal if possible, because the evaluations that we've had of shipping off show that the cost of shipping off is a lot greater than taking care of it.
Under your current assumptions, if we put a big barge up Hitler Creek, excavated that out, might be cheaper.
And there'd be no mosquitoes.
All right, thanks, Kara.
Okay. Our next item is, Kara, is to look at the big picture. So we're really looking kind of for totals. And I don't know, when you confirm these numbers up to Brian, it would be helpful. We present to the FinCom on the 15th of December, and we'd like to have the numbers firmed up way before that so we can actually discuss our recommendations before we have to present to FinCom on the 15th. So the week before that Wednesday meeting, whatever that day is, so that'd be the 16th minus 7, the 9th. And this is enterprise funds, so we don't have to worry about it, right? My jokes just don't go over, do they? They're just not very funny.
You have a dark sense of humor.
That's hilarious.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Thank you, David. So the next item on our agenda is to discuss recommendations for full year 2017 capital requests. I'd say now the real work begins, because now we have information. We can start talking about funding sources and lack of funding sources and all that sort of stuff. So that would be what I'd like to propose we do for the next, however long we want to talk about it. And then tomorrow, that would be the whole meeting, would be to discuss the recommendations that we, either want to think about or push out or not recommend. So that would be today and tomorrow. I would like to commend Brian on all his hard work in getting us to the point where we have input the information into the new software. One of the beauties of having this all in a software program is that you can run reports because you've got the data. Now it's a matter of how do you want to cut the data. And in the past, we've had difficulties doing that, but now we can cut it by departments, by categories. We can look at funding sources, and we can do reports. Okay, what funding? How much is going to come from free cash? How much is going to come from revolver funds? How much is going to come from this, that, or the other thing? So I think it's pretty neat that we have the software, and we know, and Brian would be the first to tell you, it's not perfect because it's the first year of using it, and the department heads are still getting used to getting their data in. But on those individual sheets and individual projects, each item has what the item is, what the need is, what the justification is, and the funding source. So if you have all that information, then you can really start looking at what we as a committee want to recommend. So I don't know if Brian had time to run
Yeah, I had it as a note to bring up for you tomorrow, so.
okay.
That's what I had written down.
Okay, well, that's fine. I think tomorrow will be good. So what I'm thinking we ought to do is once we see that, it's going to be by department?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll run it and we'll upload it so that you can download it tonight. And I'll run it by entirely by general fund and enterprise funds. Then I'll run it by department, and then I can run the preliminary funding source sheet. It's not. I mean, this basically just allocates it on a very 64,000 foot level before we start allocating like you're discussing now.
Okay.
But I can run it by funding source too, so that everybody can see what that looks like.
But allocations aren't the priority necessarily.
Pardon me?
It's not necessarily the priority. Things are going to be allocated here or there.
Absolutely. It's just, it was putting them in so we could see preliminarily, obviously if we allocate free cash, once we make those decisions, we'll go back in.
Yeah.
And when things are done, we'll update this so that it stays current with the way the plan has evolved to what gets approved at town meeting. So that when people look at it, it's the same as what we had done. So if we do reappropriations, we'll make note of those and take care of it. So it's going to be a document that we'll be able to work from and be consistent with all of
fantastic.
And so you're gonna post that on the capital programs?
Yeah,
Lionel will send it out to
We'll
us.
do those three, and if you want, I can just do a complete packet for download of all the projects, all 216 of them on those, the 10-year sheets.
Individual
So you-
sheets.
So you can just download them and have them all in one spot, since we use the.
Without all the
web.
pictures and the letters and
It's not gonna have every detail
Cost
behind
estimate.
it, but.
We have it,
you
and
have
we can
that
always go
all,
back
but I
and
can
get
do
it.
just so you can have that instead of trying to bring everything else, if you, and that way you can download it tonight.
Yeah, that would be helpful without all the detail and all of that.
Right. I think once we know what the totals are, we can
It's
start
really
figuring out what our,
What did we say? I think it was $440 million
over 20 years, yeah. And just looking at 2017, and obviously things have changed a bit, it looks like normal capital items, the stuff we don't have to do, there's about 14.5 million. 2 sewer projects out of the general fund are 38 million, and then there's some amount for our island home. So I think we have to discuss a lot of that stuff and try to figure out, what selectmen really want to do on our island home, in 2017, and then out farther.
I think some of the hope from the Board of Selectmen is to kind of coming from town meeting, go through a process of reevaluating where we're at with the 2 buildings. We've talked about it a lot. We went through with the Island Home Planning Work Group. We want to kind of have a better understanding of what the different models are going forward, and then come back to town meeting at some point and say, do we really want to do this, or is this really the model to go with? Because I'm not convinced, and I think some of my board members aren't convinced, and some members of the community aren't convinced that just going forward, business as usual is the right way to go.
So I don't think we're gonna have
A number.
So we have $1 million already from special town meeting, I know, so that, we can work with that for the time being.
But that really, that $1 million really helps with the process going forward, and,
Right.
and helping everybody understand what, it's a big, lots of big decisions to come, not just in sewer.
Right.
It's helpful.
All right, well, be nice, okay, so now I think I'm gonna say, okay, let's wait until tomorrow, to discuss this, but it'll be great not to have a lot of moving parts, because it's been a process of about 8 weeks now, and from the beginning, Kara, she was the first one, poor thing, and so as she's got her numbers refined as time has gone on, I don't know if any of the other department heads have refined theirs in the meantime, but just so we know what we're
Nobody else
talking
has sent
about.
me anything.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go through before I do this and put in some of these changes because they haven't been accounted for in that yet, so.
Okay. Very good. Well, we're kind of at, in the home stretch here, so this is going to be the fun part.
And then after tomorrow, when I'll have a better sense, and then what I can do is I'll have a phone call with Senator tomorrow anyway, so we will, I'll work on getting a rough outline of what the financing impact may be. I mean, very preliminary, but at least something too, as you, for your 9th meeting, and you can.
Explain to Pete who Cinder is.
Cinder is, she works at First Southwest, who is our financing and bonding people. They take us through the entire bond process to take us to market from start to finish. So the town's worked with them for, I don't even know how many, over 20 years.
Is that their specialty?
That's Cinder's specialty is municipal financing. That's pretty much all she does.
Really true, knows the town inside and out, because you've been doing it for 25 years or something like that.
She's even longer.
Even longer.
It's probably like 30 or
She's on the
40 years at one point.
She's on the FinCom of the town of Lexington, so
I think it's
Winchester?
Shelby Town.
No, she lives in Swampscott. She lives in the same town as the governor. So yeah, so she's very familiar with the ins and outs and understands, and so.
does anybody know what the CFA is? Is that what that you just got?
Yeah, it is.
That's a very significant financial analyst.
Oh, yeah, that was in the paper.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I've had people, because I was in that industry for 20-some years, and to get that is it's very significant, very difficult exam in multiple parts, and it took, I don't know, there's 3 parts at least.
Yeah,
if I
three
remember,
exams.
over 3 years. So it's very significant that Pete has gotten that achievement and that award. Not an award, I mean, he's earned it, but I'm delighted you're on this committee.
Yeah, it's good to have. I passed the exams a little while ago, but it was just all the red tape to get through to finally gain the whole charter stuff.
Very
Yeah,
good.
Good to have.
Congratulations.
So Brian will have a preliminary idea of how that'll affect
You have a
the
meeting on the
towns.
9th, right?
Yes.
Correct, yeah, so I would, shoot to have it to you, it may be coming to you in written paper form on the 9th, just because we don't have.
This is the
meeting.
cinder part.
So-
This is the impact
It
on
may be
tax.
the 9th, the meeting you have there, may be handing it out, because it usually, we go through multiple itinerations before we figure out what looks the best. But the goal would be to have it to you, for that meeting,
So
in
s-
one way or another.
So we'll see how it might impact our 12.6%
Yes,
ratio, in theory.
yes, in theory we will, well, not in theory, we will see how it will impact that.
Great.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you.
Are there any other items for the committee? Then I'd like to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
9 o'clock, not even.
Brian, what was the company that she worked
For Southwest.
for? First Southwest.
What's her last name? I can't remember.
Senator McNerney.